What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, revisiting Dank Sanctuary. I did not do this card justice. I made a couple of mistakes in this video. I am not above making some alterations to a video to improve the quality. And sometimes I just misread a card and I end up messing up on part of the effect. And I feel like I got to give an accurate description on the videos. You know what I mean? I got to give an accurate description of the actual card because some people might look and they might not actually read the card and they might just go on my word. And then, they end up misinterpreting it just as I did. So anyways, this is coming out in Duels Pack 17. This card works in conjunction with Destiny Board. Now, why they're releasing this, I think Destiny Board came out in Labyrinth of Nightmare. If I just had to guess off the top of my head, I'd probably say that was 2003. Why they're releasing this 13 years after the fact, I have no idea. This probably should have came out no later than like 2006 when we started. I think that's right about the time that like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX started. But, regardless, it's out now. So, what are you going to do? It's a Bakura card from the anime. I remember that because, and Yu-Gi-Oh! The Bridge series, I remember him dueling against Yugi on the blimp and whatnot, all the jokes about anime conventions and whatnot. So if you guys don't know what Destiny Board does, because this is a fucking silly old card, and it is an alternative win condition. Let me go ahead and read it for you. At the end of your opponent's turns, it's a trap card, so it's a little bit slow. It's not the fastest win condition, but still technically faster than Final Countdown. At the end of each one of your opponent's turns, you place one Spirit Message card from your hand or your deck face up on the field. If you control the full message, final, or death in the OCG, you actually win the duel. It has to be in the proper order, by the way, too. If any spirit message or destiny board you control is removed from the field, all the spirit messages and destiny board actually gets into the graveyard. So this is completely all in. If any part of your destiny board leaves the field, you probably are going to lose that duel. Like, you got to make sure that once you commit to spelling out final, you get there in 5 turns, basically. You pretty much need to do it. All right, so insert Dank Sanctuary. It's a field spell. It works with the new card. It says, if you bring out a spirit message due to the effect of Destiny Board, you can special summon that card as a normal monster. It's a Fiend, Dark, level 1, stats are 0/0. It's irrelevant, honestly. The card special summoned by this effect is unaffected by the effects of other cards not named Destiny Board, so they can still essentially get blown up or whatever. It all goes to the graveyard, and it cannot be targeted for an attack. If you only have monsters who have this card's effect applied to them and no other monsters, your opponent can attack you directly. So it's a little bit of a downside. When your opponent declares an attack, this is effect number 2, flip a coin. If it's head, negate the attack, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. I don't know why I thought that was too. For some reason, I said that if it's heads, negate the attack, and if it's tails, inflict damage. Okay, so if it's tails, it's nothing. So you have a 50% chance of pretty much blowing your opponent up. You know, it'd be crazy. It'd be crazy if you actually won through this effect doing burn damage to your opponent, because that's actually, I guess, a secondary win. It's not gonna happen. I'm not even gonna go on that. Okay, so here's something that when I made the first video, I didn't actually realize. With the letters, the spirit messages, they can actually be anywhere on the field. They can be in your monster zones. As long as they spell out final, you still win the duel. I did not actually realize that they don't have to stay in your back row. It's because like I'm not used to them being on the field as monsters, but Dank Sanctuary does make the monsters, and when they're summoned that way, they pretty much are immune to everything except I guess Destiny Board getting destroyed and then being blown up, because they can't be attacked and they're unaffected by all other effects. So technically what people were saying is, hey Cap, you can actually run a bunch of stun cards now, because if you add an I and an N and an A, you know what I mean, they get summoned as monsters, so they no longer have to sit in your back row and clog it up. You can actually run things like skill drain and lose 1 turn and things like that. Now, one thing that is kind of is the fact that, let's just say you have your Destiny Board, right, and you have F and you have I, and then you get, Dank Sanctuary and you play it, and then you add your N will get summoned, but the other cards will not. So a couple of your zones will actually be clogged, but, you still will have a couple of slots open. So overall, I'm not going to say this makes the deck great, but it makes it way better than it used to be, because it used to be with the old Destiny Board, you couldn't reliably play back row, because like I said, if you got like 4 letters, you had to leave the other slot open. Otherwise, you couldn't win. You couldn't place a Destiny, you couldn't place a Spirit Message from your deck or your hand to the field to win. So you pretty much couldn't, put anything on the board. And it left you very susceptible to Spell and Trap Destruction. Again, the deck is still pretty susceptible to Spell and Trap Destruction. If you lose your Destiny board, you probably, you're going to lose the duel. So you just kind of have to hope that you don't get it. Maybe Herald of the Orange Light for things like Twin Twister and whatnot. But now you can actually play, you can actually play, I'm trying to think of cards that just can easily, I guess Judgment of Anubis, something like that. You can actually play cards, like spell negation cards that would stop the destruction of your back row. Or you could play, dang it, as Royal something. What is that trap that makes it so continuous traps on the field cannot be destroyed by card effects? I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but you could run something like that to keep your Destiny board protected. The fact that there's a 50% chance of your opponent being able to directly attack, there has to be some downside to the card, you know what I mean? They couldn't just make it where your opponent can attack directly, but all their attacks are negated, or, they take battle. That would be kind of silly. Seriously, because then it would be too much stall built into the card. I actually like this. When this is added to Death Pro, I'm actually gonna I'm gonna test this out just to see how it does, because I've never actually played Destiny board just because the win condition was so flimsy. And as I've said multiple times, even though you can play the Spirit Messages from your hand with Destiny board's effect, one of the major problems with Destiny board is the fact that you have to pretty much run multiple letters. And if you draw multiple letters, especially the same letter, it's really, really bad. It's absolutely terrible, because if you lose your Destiny board early in the duel, you also lose those letters. And once they hit the graveyard, they're stuck. So if you get another Destiny board later in the duel, you still want to be able to win. If you only ran one final, one Destiny board plus the other letters, okay, what if you got the second letter and it got blown up? You pretty much just would scoop. But if you have multiple letters, you still can technically win. But you can't do that with 3 Destiny boards and one copy of I and N, because if you lose one, then what's the other point of the other Destiny board? So let me know what you guys think. I think the card is actually pretty solid. Maybe it can be a fun deck. It still takes 5 full turns to actually win, but it is kind of nice that your Destiny letters can actually win from the field, and that they're unaffected by all other card effects, because they're building that shit into everything, even though this is an old card. So I apologize for the mistakes I made in the first video. Thank you guys for watching, as always.